Ladies and gentlemen, I want to begin with a simple question, one we often forget to ask ourselves. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and truly saw yourself? Not your flaws, not the expectations placed upon you, not the fear your heart has been carrying, but you, the soul that lives behind your eyes. We live in a world where perfection is measured by how we look, what we own, how loudly we speak, or how flawlessly we perform. But let me tell you something I have learned through silence, struggle, and surrender. If your soul is perfect from within, that's all right, because real perfection is not Instagram filtered. Real perfection is not wrapped in applause. Real perfection is that unshakable peace inside you, the peace that whispers, I am enough even when the world says I am not. You see, life has a strange way of breaking us, sometimes gently, sometimes brutally. But every crack, every scar, every tear in the fabric of our being is not a flaw. It is an opening through which strength walks in, an opening through which light enters, and that light. That is where your soul begins to shine. People may judge you based on what they see. They may underestimate you. They may tell you that you are too damaged, too different, too imperfect to rise. But your worth has never been dependent on their eyesight. Your worth comes from the courage to stand again, from the grace to forgive, from the kindness you offer even when the world has not been kind to you, from the love that blooms inside you even after you thought love was no longer possible. That is soul perfection. Let me promise you this. When your soul is in harmony, the noise of the world loses its power. When your intentions are pure, life aligns in ways you never imagined. When you choose compassion over comparison, gratitude over greed, and authenticity over approval, you become unstoppable. So take a moment today and ask yourself, not am I perfect, but am I growing? Am I healing? Am I becoming softer, kinder, wiser from within? If the answer is yes, then believe me, you are already perfect. Because perfection is not the absence of flaws. It is the presence of light. It is the presence of courage. It is the presence of a soul that refuses to give up. Inner perfection matters more than external validation. Scars and struggles shape the strength of your soul. Authenticity and compassion are the true measures of worth. Inner perfection matters more than external validation because everything we seek from the outside world is actually a reflection of what we believe about ourselves on the inside. When you define your worth based solely on how others see you, you hand them the power to shape your identity. The truth is, people's opinions are as shifting as the wind. Today they may praise you, tomorrow they may forget you, and the day after they may judge you. So if your sense of self is built on their approval, it will crumble every time the world changes its mind. But when you cultivate a soul that is anchored, aligned, and at peace with itself, no amount of external noise can shake you. Inner perfection does not mean having no flaws. It means being in harmony with your values, your intentions, and your truth. It means recognizing that your emotions are valid, your journey is unique, and your pace is your own. When your soul feels complete, you stop chasing validation like a thirsty traveler chasing a mirage. You begin to understand that true confidence grows from authenticity, not applause. You stop performing for the world and start living for yourself. And in that shift, you reclaim your freedom. The world often teaches us to polish our exterior, our looks, our achievements, our titles, so that we appear worthy. But the world rarely teaches us to polish our inner landscape, the place where our self-worth actually lives. Outer shine fades quickly, inner light lasts forever. External validation is temporary fuel, burning fast and leaving you empty. Inner perfection is a steady flame, quiet, calm, and unbreakable. It does not beg for recognition because it already knows its value. When you focus on inner perfection, you become less reactive to criticism and more connected to your purpose. You stop fearing judgment because you know the world can only see the surface, not the soul that breathes beneath it. You stop comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel because your fulfillment comes from who you are, not how you rank. You start to measure success not by applause but by alignment. Whether your actions match your principles, whether your choices bring peace, whether your presence brings kindness. Inner perfection also teaches you to be gentle with yourself. When you understand that your worth is not dependent on external standards, you stop punishing yourself for not fitting into them. You learn to accept your scars as lessons, not liabilities. You begin to embrace the parts of yourself you once hid, realizing they are pieces of the same whole. You become more compassionate, not only toward others, but also toward the person you meet in the mirror every day. And perhaps the most beautiful part of inner perfection is that it requires no audience. You do not need anyone to witness it for it to be real. It is a quiet revolution that happens within you. Your thoughts becoming kinder, your intentions clearer, your heart more open. You become someone who chooses integrity over image, depth over display, meaning over mimicry. And when you live from such a place, you naturally radiate a strength that does not need to be announced. It is simply felt. In a world that constantly tells you to seek approval, choosing to cultivate inner perfection becomes an act of courage. It means refusing to be defined by fleeting opinions and instead choosing to be defined by an inner truth that cannot be taken away. When your soul feels complete, the world no longer becomes a place where you must prove yourself. It becomes a place where you simply express yourself. And that shift changes everything. Scars and struggles shape the strength of your soul because every difficult moment you endure becomes a silent teacher, carving depth into your being that comfort alone could never create. When life breaks you open, it also breaks you free. Free from illusions, free from superficiality, free from the belief that strength is the absence of pain. True strength is born from the moments that tried to destroy you but couldn't. It is forged in the fire of heartbreak, failure, loss, and uncertainty. These experiences do not come to punish you, they come to transform you. They peel away the outer layers of pride and pretense and expose the raw, honest core of who you really are. And it is in that exposed, vulnerable state that the soul learns to grow. We often wish for smooth roads and easy days, but smooth roads rarely create skilled travelers. It is the rough paths, the ones filled with stones, twists, and storms, that teach us balance, patience, resilience, and humility. A scar is not a sign of weakness. It is a reminder that you survived what once felt unbearable. It is a testament that you walked through darkness and still found your way forward. Each scar carries a story, a lesson, a moment you thought would end you but ultimately shaped you. When you look at your struggles through this lens, you begin to understand that they were not setbacks. They were sculptors shaping the contours of a stronger, wiser soul. Struggles teach you to appreciate the things you once took for granted: peace, stability, kindness, and even simple joys. When you've been through chaos, calm becomes more precious. When you've faced loss, love becomes more meaningful. When you've tasted failure, success becomes more humble. These experiences deepen your gratitude and soften your heart. They teach you empathy because only those who have felt pain deeply can recognize it in another. Your struggles connect you to humanity in a way comfort never could. They allow you to sit with someone in their darkness without trying to fix it, because you've learned that sometimes presence is the real remedy. Scars also remind you that growth requires discomfort. You cannot step into a stronger version of yourself while clinging to who you used to be. Struggles force you to confront parts of yourself you would otherwise avoid, your fears, insecurities, doubts, and limitations. They pull you out of your comfort zone and into a place where you have no choice but to adapt, evolve, and rise. And it is often in those moments of uncertainty that you discover your greatest strengths. You realize you are braver than you imagined, wiser than you believed, and more resilient than you ever gave yourself credit for. Life's challenges also teach you the value of surrender, not giving up, but letting go of what you cannot control. They teach you patience because healing takes time. They teach you faith because progress isn't always visible. They teach you discernment because not everyone who starts with you is meant to stay with you. As you navigate hardship, you begin to understand what truly matters and what was only noise. You learn to value authenticity over approval, purpose over perfection, and inner peace over outer praise. Most importantly, every struggle you face shapes the lens through which you see life. Where you once saw obstacles, you begin to see opportunities. Where you once saw endings, you begin to see beginnings. Where you once saw weakness, you begin to see courage. Your scars become symbols of not just what you endured, but of who you became because of it. They become reminders that even in brokenness there is beauty, because broken places are where the light enters, where wisdom grows, and where the soul finds its true strength. Authenticity and compassion are the true measures of worth because they reflect the deepest layers of who we are, far beyond what the world can see or quantify. When you choose to live authentically, you stop performing for approval and start existing in alignment with your truth. You no longer hide behind masks designed to please others or bend yourself into shapes that do not belong to you. Authenticity is a quiet, powerful declaration that you are enough as you are. It is the courage to honor your own voice even when it trembles, to speak your truth even when it is inconvenient, and to stay rooted in your values even when no one is watching. In a world that constantly pressures you to conform, authenticity becomes an act of strength. It means choosing yourself without needing permission and expressing your soul without fear of judgment. Compassion, on the other hand, is the language of the heart. It is the recognition that every human being is carrying battles unseen, wounds unspoken, and stories untold. Compassion softens the edges of your soul and teaches you to respond to the world not with haste or harshness, but with understanding. It asks you to look beyond someone's actions and into their context, to see not just their mistakes, but also their efforts, their fear, their humanity. Compassion allows you to offer kindness even to those who have hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because you refuse to let bitterness take residence in your heart. When you live with compassion, you create a space where healing becomes possible, not only for others, but also for yourself. Together, authenticity and compassion form the foundation of true worth. They are qualities that cannot be taken away by circumstances or measured by societal standards. Wealth may come and go, beauty may fade, achievements may be forgotten, but the impact of a sincere heart remains. The world often values loudness, success, and perfection, but the soul values truth, humility, and gentleness. When your worth is built on these inner qualities, it stays intact even when life tests you. You do not crumble under pressure because you are anchored in something deeper than external validation. You become a person whose presence brings comfort, whose words bring clarity, and whose actions bring meaning. Authenticity teaches you to show up as your real self, while compassion teaches you to honor the real selves of others. When you combine both, you create relationships built not on pretense but on trust. You learn to listen without the urge to judge, to give without the need to control, and to love without expecting anything in return. These qualities turn ordinary interactions into moments of connection. They allow you to see beauty in imperfections, lessons in challenges, and humanity in every soul you encounter. Living authentically also liberates you from the exhausting cycle of comparison. You stop measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel and start appreciating your own journey with all its highs and lows. You learn that worth does not come from being better than others, but from being better than who you were yesterday. Authenticity gives you the freedom to grow at your own pace, to make mistakes without shame, and to embrace your individuality instead of apologizing for it. And when you accept yourself fully, you naturally become more accepting of others. Compassion flows more easily because you understand what it means to be human, to stumble, to rise, to break, to heal. Compassion also rewires how you respond to pain. Instead of closing your heart to protect yourself, you allow it to expand. You learn that empathy is not a weakness but a bridge. It connects you to people in profound ways, reminding you that none of us are alone in our struggles. Compassion transforms you from someone who simply exists to someone who makes a difference, even in small, quiet ways. A kind word, a gentle gesture, a moment of understanding. These are things people carry with them long after the moment passes. When authenticity guides your choices and compassion guides your interactions, you build a life that is meaningful, grounded, and deeply fulfilling. You become the kind of person who walks through the world with integrity, who leaves others feeling seen, valued, and understood. You become a soul whose worth is not dictated by circumstance, but defined by character, and that is a form of richness that no external validation can ever match.